So completely out of the blue today, the government have announced that they're going to suspend all vaginal mesh implants used to treat stress urinary incontinence in women. We were not expecting this at all. The government have only just started their review, which we expected was going to last about 10 months. They've just had one formal meeting with women in London. They have met other women individually, and they have had a teleconference with myself and some of the other campaigners in the group. But actually they've had one formal meeting with women, and they've decided the stories are so horrific, are so upsetting, lives are so damaged beyond repair, that they're calling a halt to these implants until March 2019. And I think the really positive thing about this suspension is that the government are finally listening to us and realising just how awful it is when these mesh implants go wrong. So that's on the positive. On the not such positive side, they're not suspending rectopexy mesh implants. These are used when people suffer a rectal prolapse. The consequences are just as severe and grave if they go wrong. So we would really like to see those suspended as well. The other thing that I need to mention is this same plastic material is used for hernia repairs. So we do have an increasing number of members, male and female, joining the group who've had a hernia mesh implant, and they're starting to get the same sort of complications of pain, some loss of sex life, autoimmune conditions, and that's only just starting to come out. So we're hoping that this suspension, this review, will springboard that knowledge, that awareness, to have stricter controls in place for patients who are offered hernia mesh. I would also like to get the message across about men's mesh. There's a trial going on in the UK at the moment called the Master Trial, and what that is doing is putting mesh slings into men who have had prostate cancer. So the men have been through treatment, they've had a prostatectomy, and then a lot of men then suffer stress incontinence, which, you know, you've been through the trauma of a cancer diagnosis, you've been through the trauma of a treatment, and then to find you incontinent, it's just awful. And we do feel for these men. But to then have a mesh implant put in, which potentially could cause a whole new raft of complications, is really upsetting. So I suppose the message we would want to put out is, these mesh implants, they're all made of polypropylene plastic. They all have the potential to shrink, twist, degrade, cause autoimmune diseases. Whether it's hernia, women's mesh, men's mesh, it can all cause problems. And the fact the government are finally waking up and realising is a really positive step for campaigners.